Okay, right. All right. So, blessed are the poor in spirit. There's different interpretations to that. The word, as I always try to remind us, of the poverty in language and the translations that more or less fit the reality, because every word is a metaphor, and very often it does not reflect the reality behind it. So, blessed, some people translate it happy, like beatitude, and some people say that it's more associated with blessed are you when you are experience poverty in the spirit. That kind of says it a little more clearly. When. To be poor in the spirit means to be dependent. And our ego doesn't want to be dependent. It wants to be independent and free and in control at all times. And so, what does that mean to be dependent upon God?
Because I need you. What did you say? So means need. Oh, needing, dependent. I need you.
Okay.
Relying.
Reliance. What's another big word? Starts with a T. Trust. Yes, trust. It says it's just no matter what, God will be with us. Okay. And I think of all the times in my life when there has been this sense of being rescued. Like when I was on the floor of my office in St. Louis with a shotgun in the back of my head. I was just, 29 years old, just ordained 4 years. And I heard a bullet go by my ear one night on the backyard. So it's like, okay, I've been spared. I could have been gone in 1969. Okay, so we all can know of instances in our lives when it just seems like there was a divine ambush. When there's something's happened we can't explain, and we don't need to explain, but we can see later. Usually we don't see at the time, but we can see later how there was this sense of God being especially present in a more direct way. Okay, does that make sense? Anybody have any, experiences of that you'd like to share? Yeah.
This that comes to mind. It's been several years ago. I used to deliver the advance newspaper, and it was quite icy on the steps. I always felt I had to get right up there and put it on the porch. And I slipped. It was icy, and by all, I'm going to say reasonable, I should have hit my head, but I went slipped down the steps. I hit my lower back, but I didn't feel anything, but there was something because I did not hit my head.
Right. Well, yesterday we celebrated the guardian angels, right?
So something.
There's something there. Somebody guarding us, watching over us, right? And so this calls forth from us what kind of response when we are aware of these things?
Gratitude.
Gratitude.
Yes.
Being thankful. Was it? I think it was Meister Eckhart that said, if we only pray one prayer, and that's the prayer of gratitude, that's all we need. If you live in gratitude, you're not going to live with pity parties. You're not going to live with judgmental parties. You're not going to live with a sense of resentment, right?
Yeah, Meister Eckhart says if you only say one prayer in your life, and that prayer is the prayer of thank you, it will be enough.
There you go. That's the same thing as Meister Eckhart. Maybe he heard it from that. I don't know.
I hang out with the Dominicans.
You go to the Dominicans, right? So, tomorrow we celebrate what feast?
St. Francis.
St. Francis, the poor one, the poverello, the beggar. Okay? And what an example of letting go. he had a wealthy life. He had it made, so to speak, lots of money. And before he had the great transformation, he was living it up with all kinds of raucous behavior, of course. And he had this experience of God. And that was this divine ambush. And it so touched him that, wow, he gave up everything. He started, have you seen the movie by friend, who's that friend? The great movie of Francis by Zeffirelli. Zeffirelli. One of my favorite movies, Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. Beautiful movie. I love that song. Yes. Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. It's a very haunting melody. But, he started throwing out the bowls of cloth at his father's factory and threw them out the window, and his father was furious and took him to the bishop and took him to the police and everything, and he stood out in front of everybody and completely disrobed, became completely naked and disowned everything. He wanted nothing from his father or anything, and he lived as a beggar and had tremendous number of followers, and he never wanted to own any property. And now the Franciscans today are one of the largest landowners of all religious orders. I mean, they own a lot of the Holy Land, let me tell you. And they almost have a monopoly on the Holy Land, if you've ever been over there. Franciscans. Yeah, they're about in every site that you go to as a chaplain. So anyway, Francis didn't even want to cut down a tree. He forbade it from anybody cutting down a tree without permission from the major superior. He wanted to have this kind of radical dependence. And I just watched a video yesterday, a great series on poverty and Franciscan, that said when he died, he also stripped himself naked and got on the floor of the chapel, and the Franciscan monks around him read the Passion of the Christ. And that's, so we have models of great, he lived a life of trust, he didn't have any money, he'd go around and beg for all the foods, and I'm one of those beggars myself. I always begging for my mission work in the Dominican Republic, and people see me coming and put their hand over their wallet, and they say that when I die I'll have a casket with an arm extension, But it's okay. I'm not begging for me. I'm begging for those who cannot beg for themselves. And so it's an example of what we're called to be in contemplation and centering prayer. Let go. That's the theme. Let go. Let go of your planning, your reviewing, your trying to solve problems. And that's what our ego wants to do 24/7, right? We even do it in our dreams. And to let go of that is a struggle. But to the extent that we think we are doing it, it's not going to be done. Because we can't do it on our own. Our ego is too strong. And so we are called to be humble and poor and recognize I cannot be successful in centering prayer or any kind of contemplation on my own. It's that, like the beautiful song in Les Mis, on my own. It's that sense of dependence and trust that somehow my calculating mind is not needed during the 20, 30 minutes. To solve problems, to plan for the next dinner we're going to have, or whatever it is. And so, in a sense, we're letting God, allowing God to heal us of our need to be rich, to be in control, and it's a direct onslaught to the ego. And it doesn't give up easily. As those of you who have been experiencing, hope you're all experiencing centering prayer and silence and contemplation. And even when you do, you recognize that it's not you doing it. Anytime that a breakthrough is made when you're aware that, you are in another sphere of consciousness. And I experienced this a number of times in centering prayer. And it's just like an hors d'oeuvre for heaven. And it's all a taste of the future. And it's completely letting go. You cannot make it happen. And what's our philosophy in the world? If you want to do something, you want to get something done, do it yourself, right? Yes?
Perhaps we all read it sometime in the last week when they said our greatest treasure is when we realize we're totally dependent on God.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to do that. Our ego wants to be a little bit in charge, at least a little bit. But when we're totally... Did anybody else read that?
Yeah, where was that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know where I read it, but I think we probably all did. Yeah, and I thought that really summarized...
You saw something too?
Yeah, it was on, I can't remember where we read
Was
that.
it in Richard Rohr?
Might have been, our greatest treasure is.
Yeah, is to be totally dependent. When I read that, I thought, ooh, totally.
And the key word there is realize. Realize means to let it happen, to let it be revealed to you. It's not you doing the realization, it's your letting it happen to you. Like Mary, let it be done to me. She didn't say, I'll do it. And so she had no grounds for the ego to operate on. Later saying, well, I'm the mother of God, who are you? You know? That's ego plus. She and all the saints live with that sense of humility, which is what? It's the sense of complete honesty. That you know you are not making yourself holy. You are allowing God to transform you through the two great means, great love and great suffering. Saying yes to both. Saying yes. This is our little mustard seed response. Saying yes, accepting it, not making it happen. It's allowing energy, not doing energy. And I don't think I can talk about that enough because so much of our literature on the spiritual life is on what Rohr calls muscular Christianity. Muscular beach, the guy on the beach with, and it's that sense of another notch on your belt that, well, now I can do centering prayer, okay? Why can't you do it, As if we are doing it. But the secret is to see through that and to see how many times when we're sad, when we're angry, wow, we can see the ego in action. And we choose to be poor and let God transform us into who we are, which is one with God. Does that make sense? Resonate? What resonates, Kathy? Come on.
Easing God out.
What's that?
Ego. Easing God
Easing God out. Ego. That's a good one, yeah. Anything resonate with you, Kathy?
I think my husband and I say the litany of humility every day. So that's about letting go of everything. Your need to be acknowledged, your need to be
Right.
all of that. So that is all the ego.
Right. And it's never satisfied. It's like dropping the rock in the well, but waiting for it to hit the bottom so you know how deep it is. It never hits. You don't hear anything forever. Never. I just got an email 2 days ago from classmates from my high school back when I graduated in '57 at Subiaco Academy in Arkansas, the monastery, Benedictine monastery. And they said that they've been doing some research on the internet and reading up about me and what I've been doing in my life. And so they are nominating me to be the distinguished alumni of this year, which, you know, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, I accepted just for their sake. They want to do it, and I don't need it, but, you know, we'll see. It's, you know, you realize after a while that that's not important, you know. So anyway, so we're just about at the end here. One final comment or question?
Well, what you just shared, Father, will there be a special recognition ceremony, even though it doesn't mean?
I'm sure they'll have something, you know, which will be quote, quote, nice, but I don't put a lot of emphasis on it, right?
Where in Arkansas?
In Northwest Arkansas, it's a Benedictine monastery where I spent 14 years.
Is it still there?
It's still there. The monastery is still there. The academy is still there. I was the guidance counselor for the academy for 2 years, between 66 and 68. And that's when I was able to get permission from the abbot to leave and start working with the poor. And so I'm sure it caused a great consternation when myself and another priest left, because we had been in solemn vows and for life. You know, we could pick out where our cemetery plot would be. So anyway, it was good. Wonderful experience. I'm grateful for the background in silence and solitude and penance, and but I'm grateful that I have a hybrid vocation, Benedictine Paulist, okay, and a little part Dominican. Okay.
Is that near Table Rock Lake?
What's that?
Is that near Table Rock Lake, that
No,
location?
no, it's right next to Paris.
Where?
Next to Paris,
Oh, Paris, Texas?
Paris, Arkansas. Haven't you heard of Paris, Arkansas? I used to play golf in Paris. All right. So anyway, so let's stop and just have some little time for silence before we celebrate the Eucharist. All right.
Thank you, Father.